Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Richard Gordon will lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I do my prayer, I'd like to extend my thanks to the Red Crescent of Kuwait who are here. And this is part of the prayer. Because the prayer asks for, and I'll say it now. Lord God, as we battle with the furious forces of nature, such as Mayon volcano and the typhoons that hit Mindanao and the Visayas during the last several months, give us the strength to endure, kindle in us the fire of love and caring for others, that we may always answer other people's call for assistance. We also pray that as we face a crossroad that may greatly change our country's history, send us your gift of wisdom, that we may be able to decide with discernment the road that we should take, particularly in Mindanao, on the BBL, and the coming challenges ahead. We thank thee, Lord, also for our friends from Kuwait, who gave 297 houses in Tacloban, the cost of $5 million, and another $300,000 for Mayon and for Marawi. And this really comes out in terms of deeds, not words. As I said here in the prayer, kindle in us the fire of love and caring for others, that we may always answer other people's call for assistance. All this we ask through your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Secretary, please call the roll.
The Honorable Senators, Angara, yeah. Aquino, Binay, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan, Ontiveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Subiri, Senate President Pimentel.
With 20 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum.
Mr. President,
Majority Leader, let me
I move
correct.
that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 49th session, Monday, January 29, and consider the same as approved.
Before I act on the motion, let the records reflect that there were 21 senators who answered the call. Any objection to the motion of the Majority Leader? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, we have guests in the gallery. I would like to welcome the students from the Aklan Catholic College of Calibo, Aklan, and the students from Colegio de la Purísima Concepcion, Roa City. Also, the guests of Senator Ejercito, the senior high school students from the St. Dominic College of Asia, Bacoor, Cavite. But we'd like to make, thank you, we'd like to make special mention of the guests of Senator Richard Gordon, the chairman of the Philippine Red Cross, because we have with us the Kuwait Red Crescent, Dr. Hilal Al-Sayer, President, Maha Barhas Hamud Al-Barhas, Secretary General, Yosef Al-Melag, Mrs. Nevain Yosri, Mr. Khalid Al-Zaid, and representatives of the Kuwait Television, Mr. President. I'd like to welcome them to the Senate.
Welcome to all of our guests, and welcome to the Kuwaiti Red Crescent Society.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Message from the House of Representatives, a letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 23 January 2018, it concurred with the Senate amendments on House number 5051, an act establishing a National Science and Mathematics High School in Barangay Hulong Dagat, City of Malabon, to be known as Malabon City National Science and Mathematics High School, and appropriating funds therefore.
To the archives.
Bills on first reading, 1669, an act recognizing Faith Academy as an educational institution of international character and providing for mechanisms on the grant of certain prerogatives conducive to its growth. Senator Soto III.
To the Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture.
1670, an act granting funeral discount privileges to all public school teachers of the Department of Education and the Commission on Higher Education who died on account of work-related sickness and injuries, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy Binay.
To the Committees on Education, Arts, and Culture, and Ways and Means and Finance.
Resolutions. Resolution number 594, a resolution directing the Senate Committee on Science and Technology to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the state of maritime research by Filipino scientists and the program of the government to pursue scientific research and exploration on the Philippine rice. Senator Paulo Benigno Bam Aquino IV.
To the Committees on Science and Technology and Energy.
595, resolution directing the Senate Committee on Science and Technology to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the capacity and readiness of the Department of Information and Communications Technology and other relevant government agencies and regulators to implement rules and regulations protecting prepaid mobile credit consumers. Senator Paulo Benigno Bam Aquino IV.
To the Committees on Science and Technology and Public Services.
596, resolution directing the proper Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the reported delays in the release of certificate of registrations by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Senator Maria Lourdes Binay.
To the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
Communications. Letters from the Office of the President of the Philippines transmitting to the Senate 2 original copies of the following Republic Acts, which were signed by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Republic Act number 10962, entitled An Act Regulating the Issuance, Use, and Redemption of Gift Checks. Republic Act number 10965, an act establishing a national science high school in the city of Lawag, province of Ilocos Norte, to be known as Rodolfo C.G. Fariñas Jr. National Science High School, and appropriating funds therefore. And Republic Act number 10966, an act declaring December 8 of every year a special non-working holiday in the entire country to commemorate the feast of the Immaculate Conception of Mary, the principal patroness of the Philippines.
To the Archives, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move to resume consideration of Senate Bill 192 under Committee Report 222.
Any objection? Approved.
Mr. President, this is the measure on the OFW handbook. The parliamentary status of the measure is that we have already closed the period of committee amendments and requested that clean copies be distributed to the senators as a basis for their individual amendments. So I move to open the period of individual amendments, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
No senator has signified any intention to amend. So I move to close the period of individual amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none, we close the said period.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading Senate Bill 192 under Committee Report 222.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move to resume consideration of Senate Bill 1270 under Committee Report 212. Before my motion, I move to suspend consideration of Senate Bill 192.
Any objection? Hearing none, we suspend consideration.
Mr. President, I move to resume consideration of Senate Bill 1270 under Committee Report 212.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
This is the measure on the National Bible Day. The parliamentary status of the measure is that we're still in the period of individual amendments. I therefore move to recognize the sponsor, Senator Manny Pacquiao, and continue with his individual amendments, which he has already started yesterday. And the minority leader, just for the record, asked the possibility, or if it is possible, that a senator amend his own amendment. And the answer, it appears, Mr. President, is that the original amendments that were proposed were the committee amendments. It just so happens that the chairman of the committee was not here during that time, and Senator Pacquiao was delegated to propose the committee amendments. So now, we are in the period of individual amendments, and maybe again here, the postponed proposal by Senator Manny Pacquiao, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr.
What's the
President,
pleasure of the minority leader?
Parliamentary inquiry.
Go ahead, sir.
We expect Senator Pacquiao to basically propose that the National Bible Day be a special non-working holiday, which is basically contrary to the report of the committee, which proposed a special working holiday. The question that we raise, the parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President, is this considered an objection? Because it is diametrically opposed to the committee report.
Majority leader.
Well, I mentioned earlier, Mr. President, that the committee amendments that were read by Senator Pacquiao were the amendments of the committee.
Yes.
And it was supposed to be Senator Escudero who would have proposed that, but he delegated it to Senator Pacquiao. But then again, we are now in the period of individual amendments, and based on what we have researched on the matter, supposed to be, the procedure is that after the chair has ordered the secretary to conduct a vote, and which you did, and we did, a senator's proposed amendment may also be again amended by the senator himself, but with by unanimous consent, Mr. President. So maybe hear from Senator
Escudero.
Mr. President, we confirm that we delegated the authority and opportunity to sponsor the measure to Senator Pacquiao being one of the authors, and that indeed he read the committee's proposed amendment as contained in the committee report, recommending that it be a working and not a non-working holiday. Mr. President, I understand the issue and the difficulty and how unique the situation is. I would even use the word odd. However, Mr. President, perhaps we can consider this as akin to a motion for reconsideration filed by a senator, which under our rules, only a senator who voted for the winning side, in which case it applies to Senator Pacquiao, can seek a reconsideration of the earlier vote within 24 hours. Because in that situation, there will be a possibility that the winning side may lose given the change of the vote. So, Mr. President, whichever way we look at it, even not through the eyes of, as Senator Drilon sees it, we can consider it perhaps with the indulgence of Senator Drilon as a reconsideration of an earlier vote taken by the plenary in relation to which a member who voted for the winning side is changing his or her position by way of a reconsideration, which would hence call to the necessity a second vote.
So what is being reconsidered? The approval of the committee amendments?
Essentially, yes, Mr. President, if you will interpret it as such.
So there will be a motion to reconsider, and those who will vote in favor of the reconsideration will, if the majority will vote for the reconsideration, it would mean that the committee amendments are voided.
Yes, and it will
And
restore it
those
to its
who-
original version, which contains the recommendation for it to be a special non-working holiday. Babalik lang sa original version ng bill. In other words, the committee amendment will be reconsidered.
And if the reconsideration is not carried, then the committee amendment stands.
Stands. That
And
is
if
right.
the committee amendment stands, can it now be amended by the very same proponent? Now,
Not
making,
My
now,
understanding, Mr. President, is not anymore.
Can,
Not anymore, because it would be an endless vote already and an endless reconsideration. But this one time, perhaps it can be done.
I understand the point of Senator Escudero. He says it's akin to a motion for recon, but no motion for recon is necessary under the present situation because an amendment can be amended further, but only one more time. So that is the rule.
yes.
So Senator Pacquiao, through the committee amendment, amended the essence of the bill, making it from a regular holiday to a special working holiday. So that's amendment number 1. Our rules allow another amendment to the original amendment, so there's no need to, by analogy, treat it as a motion for reconsideration. The motion to amend of Senator Pacquiao is in order, and we just have to process it properly.
Well, Mr. President, for that matter, you know, this is the first time in my stint in the Senate where a sponsorship speech does not sponsor the committee report. The committee report says it should be a non-working special holiday. The sponsorship speech, which is asking which is sponsoring the bill, says it should be a non-working holiday. So, I mean, we are in a very odd situation, and this is almost funny, Mr. President. Future generations who will read our journal will just be wondering what's happening to us. The Senator Escudero allowed the sponsorship speech to be done by Senator Pacquiao. I do not know if he expected Senator Pacquiao to repudiate the committee report as a sponsor, because that's what in effect he did. Now, and then not only that, Senator Pacquiao sponsored the committee amendments, and the committee amendments were approved by the entire chamber. Now, as an individual senator, which he stands up and is about to propose an amendment which is contrary to the committee amendments, where no less than 15 or so members of the committee agreed and adopted, and the entire chamber adopted. This is really an odd situation, to say the very least, Mr. President.
We will await the vote of the plenary on the motion to amend. But as far as the chair is concerned, we should allow him to make the motion to amend, because that is now, the rules say that one more amendment to the original amendment is allowed. So this is now going to be the second amendment which is allowed by our rules. So
Yes,
let us await
Mr.
the
President.
result of the plenary vote on the matter.
I agree, but as lawyers, we know that we should not interpret laws or rules to the point of absurdity. I repeat that. We should not accord an interpretation which will result in an absurdity. And this is precisely what we have today. Yes, there is basis under the rules that and we have done this before, that the sponsor would, that the senator acting now as an individual senator would propose amendments to the bill that he sponsored. But in this particular case, it is an absurd situation because Senator Pacquiao has been proposing a concept which is contrary to the committee report. And I do not know if that is in order. Senator Escudero submitted his sponsorship speech, made it part of the record. So in our journal today, you have two sponsorship speeches which are contrary to each other. Isn't that odd, Mr. President?
Yes, but we will allow a change of heart, Mr. Minority Leader.
It's not a change of heart.
if,
It is two sponsorship speeches which are contrary to each other.
But the end result will be determined by the plenary at any rate, so through the amendment process.
Anyway,
So that's
I have made
the,
my point,
that's
Mr.
the ruling of the chair. That will let us. So I will now recognize Senator Pacquiao in the period for individual amendments to the measure. So Senator Pacquiao is recognized. What is the? Can we restate the amendment? Ito, di ba? Using now the clean copy distributed to our colleagues. We have a clean copy, please.
Yes, Mr. President. My amendment, Mr. President, is in the title, replace the phrase special non-work.
Can we, are you changing anything in the body? Can we start with the body first?
Yes, Mr. President.
What line, what page, what section?
On page 1, line 7,
Okay.
replace the phrase special working with special non-working
Okay.
before the word holiday.
Okay. So, okay, the essence is to make the day a special non-working holiday. Any objection?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir, Minority Leader.
would the gentleman yield to a few questions on the amendment?
It's an honor, Mr. President.
Yes. Mr. President, can we spread into the record how many employees do we have in the formal sector?
Mr. President, can I have 1 minute suspension
Yes.
to
Session
review
suspended.
the...
We need to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Before the break, Mr. President, Senator Pacquiao was on the floor. The minority leader was asking for some stats, but we suspended. May we now hear from Senator Pacquiao? I think there was a consensus reached during the break.
Senator Pacquiao, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully humbly withdraw my individual amendments, and I
Yes, the proposed amendment is withdrawn. So any other individual amendments?
There are no other individual amendments, Mr. President, but maybe listen to the minority
Leader?
Just a matter of style and the title. I am proposing an amendment to the title of the measure to reflect the body and in the committee report, and also as a matter of style. The committee report reads as follows, as title of the measure: an act declaring the last Monday of January as a National Bible Day and pronounce the same as a special working holiday and every year thereafter. May we propose for better language the following, as a title of the measure: an act declaring the last Monday of January every year as a special working holiday in observance of National Bible Day. May I repeat that, Mr. President?
Yes, please do so.
An act declaring the last Monday of January every year as a special working holiday in observance of National Bible Day. A matter of style.
What is the sponsor is Senator Pacquiao, so what is the stand of the sponsor?
I'm agree with the
Any-
proposal, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the amendment is approved.
Mr. President, I move to close the period of individual amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move that you approve on second reading Senate Bill 1270.
Any objection? Hearing none, it is approved on second reading.
Mr. President, before we continue, may I move to resume consideration of Senate Bill 1623 under Committee Report 190.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, this is the measure on Recoverable System Loss Act. The parliamentary status of the measure is that yesterday both Senator Dillon and Hotiveros have interpolated, but may we now recognize the sponsor, Senator Win Gatchalian, Chairman of the Committee on Energy, and before we continue with the period of interpolation, may I move for a few minutes of suspension, Mr. President?
The sponsor, Senator Gatchalian, is recognized.
I'm
And-
sorry, Mr. President, I withdraw the second.
Okay, we recognize first the sponsor. Majority
Yes.
Leader?
There are no other members to interpolate, so I move to close the period of interpolation.
Any objection? Hearing none, the said period is closed.
This is a substitute bill, so, Mr. President, I move to open the period of individual amendments.
Any objection? Approved. Sponsors recognized. Senator Gatchalian.
Are there any individual amendments, Mr. President, maybe know from the sponsor?
Mr. President, may I request for a suspension
Oh, yun.
of this
Move to
measure?
suspend the session for a few minutes, Mr.
Session
President.
is suspended.
Suspension ng consideration.
Hindi
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, it appears that there are individual amendments that will be proposed tomorrow on the pending measure before the break. Therefore, I move to suspend consideration of Senate Bill 1623 under Committee Report 190.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, with the permission of the Chamber, I move to resume consideration of Senate Bill 1531 under Committee Report 141.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
This is the measure on Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act of 2017. The parliamentary status of the measure is that we are now in the period of interpellation. So may we then recognize the sponsor, Chairman of the Committee on Energy, Senator Wayne Gatchalian, and to continue interpellation, the Minority Leader, Senator Frank Drilon.
Senators Gatchalian and Drilon are recognized for interpellation.
Mr. President, will the gentleman yield once more to a few questions?
Yes, Mr. President, I would be more than happy to receive some questions, Mr. President.
Mr. President, the last time that this measure was on the floor, the interpellation and the debate centered around our concern on the incentives that is being granted to those who adopt energy-saving measures. We raised concern that this can be abused, and we have discussed this off the floor with the sponsor, and the sponsor explained exactly what the incentives are, and we believe that once it is place of record, we will be satisfied that there will be no abuses committed, and therefore may we request the good sponsor to spread into the record the meaning of the tax incentives granted to companies who would install energy-saving equipments.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, after conferring with the good gentleman from Iloilo yesterday, the incentives that were proposed under the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, I would like to manifest what we have discussed in detail so that it will be included in the records, Mr. President. Mr. President, during the period of interpellation of Senate Bill number 1531 under Committee Report number 141, last January 23, 2018, the Minority Floor Leader inquired about two things. First, whether or not the Department of Finance is amenable to these proposed fiscal incentives, and second, the kind of incentives energy efficiency projects can avail of under the Omnibus Investment Code. After a discussion with the good gentleman from Iloilo, I would like to manifest on the floor the answers to his queries. First, the Board of Investments prepared a 2017 Investment Priorities Plan, or IPP, listing environment or climate change-related projects under its preferred activities for investment and thus entitled to incentives under the Omnibus Investment Code. These projects cover the manufacture and assembly of goods and the establishments of energy efficiency-related facilities whose utilization will significantly lead to the efficient use of energy. The 2017 IPP was created after consultation with various agencies, one of which is the Department of Finance. Furthermore, the 2017 IPP was approved and signed by no less than the President himself, through the Executive Secretary, Mr. President. Second, the fiscal incentives will depend on the nature of specific energy efficiency project. For example, only income from energy service companies directly attributable to an energy efficiency project can qualify for income tax holiday. On the other hand, a mall chain with a project changing all its elevators to motion-sensitive ones will not be entitled to income tax holiday. Rather, only the imported equipment for the motion-sensitive elevators will be entitled to tax and duty exemption. Mr. President, just to reiterate, when you replace existing machineries with energy efficiency machineries, the intention is to save cost on electricity. Since it will not generate income, but generate savings, it will not be entitled for income tax holiday under the guidelines of the Omnibus Investment Code, Mr. President. Thank you for the chance to address the concerns from the last interpellation, Mr. President. Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, we are satisfied that this has been clarified, and the most important clarification is that the installation of energy efficient equipment will not result in income which will give rise to an income tax exemption, but they will be entitled to incentives under our tariff and customs code.
Yes, Mr. President. Correct, Mr. President.
Which is more reasonable given the objective of the law. On that primary basis, Mr. President, with this explanation spread into the record, we have no more questions on this period of interpellation.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank the good gentleman from Iloilo for clarifying this issue.
In that case, Mr. President, I move to close the period of interpellations.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
We now open the period of committee amendments, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
approved.
Mr. President, we don't have any amendments for the measure.
Move to open the period, close the period of committee amendments, Mr. President.
Objection?
Move to open the period of individual amendments, Mr.
Any
President.
objection? Approved.
Likewise, Mr. President, we don't have any individual amendments to the measure.
I move to close the period of individual amendments, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
I move to approve on second reading Senate Bill 1531 under Committee Report 141.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move to adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, January 31, 2018.
Any objection? Hearing none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, January 31, 2018.